Okay, so hello everyone, Admiral Prince Eric, and welcome back to my channel. Now, I would like to go in for the showcasing for the famously well-known the French Super-heavy Cruiser Conde. Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe for it. So let's get started. Okay, so what is the French Super-heavy Cruiser Conde? Now, accordingly, it's gonna be the Conde. It's named after a nobility called a count, usually as regarded for at the time of the monarchy in the France, like as usual for its theme in persons. Now, in this ship, it looks like a hypothetical cruiser. It's just like the Andre the Fort, but as usual, it's a contrast from a St. Louis class cruisers in the 1940s on what it survived the French ships in the Second World War, especially the Nazis Germany occupied France. Although this never that happened was laid out, but this is going to be a some sort of like a patrie. Okay, now in this French super heavy cruiser inspired about the Andre the Fort, look about that. Her main battery turrets is going a quadruple gun. Like its predecessor, about Henry the Ford is the triple gun turret. Okay, so let's go into the specifications. Now, for the most part about the Conde is usually the greatly increases firepower, but increases its mobility and its speed. But we like to talk about this, so here we go. So let's start up the survivability. The survivability about the hit points is 55,400. The torpedo protection damage reduction is about 19%. As usual, like its predecessor. Like Andre the Fort is the 53,300. And however though, the torpedo protection is gonna be the same. Okay, so let's talk about the armor layout. Okay, so the armor layout is going to be a cruiser classic style design. It's usually the side plating consists the armor thickness is 30 millimeters. The fore end and the aft end will be 25. The plating on the ship's superstructure is 60 millimeters. The barbette armor 160 millimeters. Now the next part is going to be the armor belt is consists 130 millimeters. Usually the same slope armor, just like the predecessor Andre the Fort. Now here's the citadel armor, consists the 30, 50 millimeters and 40 millimeters, whatever. So be careful to avoid something you just wanted to get a citadel. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the ornaments. So the main battery, unlike Andre the Fort, is usually the same battery used for it. The 240mm 50 MLE 9030 in the turret. This time will be 3x4. It contains the burst fire and modified shells. Now, I would like to talk about the burst fires and modified shells, which was a feature from Spanish cruisers on the tech tree, starting tier 7. Now, the thing is for the Conde. The maximum main battery shell dispersion is about minus 20%. The HE shell armor penetration plus 25% capability. Then the secondary battery HE shell armor penetration capability 25%. Thus, the Conde will be a long reload time about 44 seconds. The burst shots per salvo is only 2. Then the interval between individual shots will be 1.32 seconds. Okay, this is going to be the same as usual like the Spanish cruisers of Tetri, but this is going to be the French super cruiser is going to be intense powerful, but increases its firepower with the help of the burst fire, which can fire both simultaneously. The AP and HE shells can set on fire and punching the citadel hits on enemy ships. Now the secondary battery consists the same armament. The 127mm 54 MLE 1948 of MLE 1948 mount, about 8x2, 127 millimeters. The reload time is 3.6 seconds. The range is 8.7 kilometers with an upgrades and commander skills. The maximum damage 1800. The initial velocity 808 meters per second. Armor penetration 21 millimeters. Chances of cross fire will be the 11%. Okay, now let's talk about the main battery. The main battery is going to be the reload time 12.3 seconds with the upgrades and commander skills. The range is 90.5 kilometers, equivalent to rival on its predecessor Andre the Fourth, which is the unique upgrade though. So that means the 20.3 kilometers. Although this was a change by Wargaming though. It's going to be a nerf that took happen last year. Now, the ammunition consists 240mm HE OEA MLE 1939. The maximum damage 3740 with the upgrades with the commander skills. Chances of cross fire 25%. Initial velocity 845 meters per second. Armor penetration capacity is about 40 millimeters. Now for armor piercing, the maximum damage 6200 and the same initial velocity like on high explosives. So the main battery is 19.5 kilometers. Now by the way, in the previous update, so Conde did the significant changes about the ship, having her hit points reduced coming from it. But now the Conde's hit points is now 55,400 since the last changes in the update 30.4, but slowly have interval time to do so. Now, unlike its predecessor Andre the Fourth, the Conde's feature about the torpedoes, but this time will be a quadruple torpedo tube launchers, 550 millimeters. The range is about 9 kilometers. The damage 14,833. The speed 60 knots. The detectability range 1.3 kilometers. The airstrikes consist the depth charge airstrike LEO H470. It consists 2 attack flights. The reload time is 30 seconds. The maximum range is about 8 kilometers. The bombs in payload will be consist in 2. The 4,900 maximum damage in total. Use them to used to destroy enemy subs in underwater. Now, for the most of the AA defenses like its predecessor Andre the Fourth. Now, for Conde is going to be the anti-aircraft armaments. 57mm 60 MLE 1951 on the ACAD MLE 1948 mount. It consists 8x2 57mm. Last but not least, it will serve as a secondary battery used as the AA guns. The 127mm 54 MLE 1948 on my MLE 1948 mount. The 8x2 is consistently. The continuous damage is about 328. The damage by shell explosions 1680. The priority sector reinforcement 50%. The final range is 60 kilometers. Now, for the damage for the short range, damage for the medium range is about 343. The long range AA guns will be damaged to up to 147. The hit probability will be all of 90%. Now, for the damage by shell explosions consists 6 per salvos. The hit probability is 90%. The action zone time will be 3.5 to 6 kilometers. The priority sector reinforcement is always for cruisers is about 10 seconds. Okay, so next one, maneuverability. Unlike the Andre the Fourth though, is going to be the maneuverability. Having the maximum speed is 36.2 knots, which is an upgrades, and the mounted signal flights. Turning circle radius 900 meters, and the rudder shift time 7.7 seconds. Interestingly, like Andre the Fourth is about 35 knots, but it was the highest of the Conde though. It's about 36 kilometers. Okay, so Andy the Fourth's basic problem is going to be hit the 840 millimeters. So it was great though, but for the Cruiser Conde, it increases the turning circle radius. The rudder shift time is 7.7 seconds, which is ideal mounting for an upgrade store. The last but not least is concealment. So the concealment though is going to be the 16.7 kilometers with an upgrades and commander skills. The detectability range by depth from 0 to 8.9 kilometers. The detectability range by air is 10.2 kilometers. And lastly is assured detectability range, about 2 kilometers. So any questions about the Conde in the specification? So please tell me ahead of the comments. Okay, so let's start off my recommendation build for the Conde. Unlike its predecessor Conde, now for the first slot I use the main ornaments mod 1. And the second slot I choose rather combination for the St. Louis and Andre the Fort. So there are two choices were made: the engine room protection or an engine boost modification one. This helps you for that the engine boost consumable for a long action time. But interesting well enough, but you gotta make it choose. The third slot is always the aim resistance mod 1 like Andy the Ford. Lets you gonna make throughout the farming damage against the enemy ships to do so. On the fourth slot, like the predecessor Andy the Ford, is always the prop mod 1. Now for the fifth slot, despite this French Super-heavy Cruiser Conde without a unique upgrade though, I should gonna recommend the steering gears mod 2. It's just like as it was from St. Louis. Last but not least is use the main battery mod 3. It will help them to reduce main battery idle time to do for a farming simulation. Here are the consumables we got. Although it's the same consumables for French cruisers since its predecessor Andre the Ford. But one of the notable features for the French Super-heavy Cruiser Conde is the burst fire and modified shells. But interestingly, it's going to be similarly comes for Spanish cruisers of the 10-3. But it will underestimate it for the long reader time. It will be the 44 seconds. But we're going to make up close and personal to use the burst fire mode as a method for a last resort. Firing both HE and AP shells will do a significant matter. Okay, so the last one is going to be the commander skills. So I have my commander skills build recommendation so far, but I will use for now the combination from St. Louis and Andy the Ford. So the first 10 skill points is going to be Grease the Gears, Demolition Expert, Adrenaline Rush, and Concealment Expert. So the next one is going to be Top Grade Gunner. Is purely recommended for this. It counts for Andy the Ford. The next one is going to be Superintendent. This Superintendent is always very important for additional charges and consumables as well as I want. But it's most importantly the main battery yield boost to consumable. So I choose the AVHE and SAP shells. That it will get to increase its HE shell damage, but it have to sacrifice its own concealment range. So technically I would choose this build because I ever wanted to make it like its predecessor Andre the Ford, but will do for a farming. On the other hand, most Conde will use eventually the survivability expert, though it was coming from its recently updated 13.4. Some did ever for Conde's hit points is reduced, so we don't want it as such a recommended for that matter. Okay, so the most important for the French cruiser though is none other than Last Stand. So using this commander skill though is always very important. French cruisers are going to be easy incapacitations of the rudder shift and the propulsion. There are two reasons to do that: to incoming fire from enemy ships. Okay, so any questions for now, or I really wanted to make the changes of commander skills at the time, so I will go to see right now. Now here's the second option for the commander skills. Now this time for Conde, is going for the survivability expert is 450, which means the increases hit points is now 60,350. That means the highest HP that ever made of. So here we go. So anyways, that's gonna end of my conclusion. And by the way, don't forget to see my first the French Super-heavy Cruiser Conde in my first impression gameplay. See down in the link for a description below. But I'm gonna do right now for starting the update 13.8 so far during the public test. So I'm going to make something the separate ones. One is for the ship gameplay for first impression, and the last one is a showcasing about the ship in this video. So you see right now about my ship gameplay right now. So don't forget. Okay, so that concludes about my French Super-heavy Cruiser Conde on the showcase. So thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell notification icon. So we're going for my next World of Warships content in any order. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you see you in my next video. Peace out, guys.